Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights of a Headhunter LinkedIn Live. Today, our guest is Kevin D. Turner from Dallas, USA. He's a brand strategist and he focuses on branding, LinkedIn profile optimization, and social selling. Very, very warm welcome, Kevin.
Tiina, thank you very much for having me here. I love what you do on LinkedIn, and you always have great, incredible stories that help people be better. And to me, that's part of life, right? We help each other. I always say, united, we keep rocking LinkedIn. That's what we do, right? We help each other. We give each other kind of these little secrets that make everything work. Because if it works for the member, right, that also works for the recruiter. So if we want more recruiters to find more members for more opportunities, then I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Is that right?
Yes, and honestly, I'm so happy to have you on my LinkedIn Live because we have known each other since 2020, and I think I've had more conversations with you than with most of the people I know from LinkedIn, and maybe even in real life. So I really admire what you do on LinkedIn, but also as a person, we have been in the same places, and it feels like even if we haven't met in person, that we are connected. Yes, yes.
Well, even this is better because for what, 2 years, we only did audio for the most part, right? So we saw little still pictures of each other, but no video. And video does help, right? It makes some more connectivity. And I think that's, just, I'm loving that. I'm enjoying it. So
Yeah, and I feel so safe knowing that all the LinkedIn new features, you will keep me up to date about them. So tell me a little bit more about the features that job seekers and recruiters should know about.
absolutely. And I appreciate that. And I can't take all the credit. I mean, I love new LinkedIn features. I love to share them, but it takes a whole group of people. I always say that have eagle eyes and sharing hearts, right? To find these things, to capture them in the wild. And then, I get to share them, and I give credit for those who helped me do this. I couldn't do it all myself. I used to be able to, and still until we got to, like, last year it went crazy. This year we've already got 57 new LinkedIn features, and what we're just starting, right? So for me to keep up with it, I couldn't. It takes a lot of great people to do that, and I appreciate them all the time. So I always try to make sure they're listed in there and give them credit for it, because none of us can do this alone. We need each other to kind of keep up, because LinkedIn doesn't communicate, right? They're really quiet. They'll do things, they'll take away stuff, they'll change things, they'll add features, and if you're alone, you'll never find out until it's no longer an advantage. So that's kind of what we try to do, is give everybody the advantage of, this is what's coming, or this is what's here, and then how to use it. And going back to LinkedIn not telling us everything, right? LinkedIn made it really, really easy for members to get on to LinkedIn and to create a profile, right? You can do it as simple as, when you first sign in, you could upload a resume and it'll create a profile based on your resume. So LinkedIn tried to make it really easy. What LinkedIn didn't tell anybody was that LinkedIn uses what we call market value filters. And basically what it does to keep control of this huge database of people, right? A profile, LinkedIn internally calls a resume, which I find fascinating, right? To keep them all organized, they've got to have labels, like a filing cabinet, right? If you had almost 1 billion files and you put them all into a cabinet and you made up every single label, you'd never find anything, right? It's like the little library Dewey Decimal System. If you got to make up your own numbers, you'd never find a book again in the library, right? So that's what we're challenged with. But if you watch LinkedIn really carefully, it kind of tells some of its secrets. So anytime you go to somewhere where it has a box that you type in information, just one line box, right? It's always going to have a drop down box that's going to come open. A couple of those areas are like location. LinkedIn just recently changed 35% of the locations. If you're in an old location, they're not going to tell you, but nobody can find you. You're invisible, right? That location no longer exists in the database. Next one would be industry. LinkedIn has now moved into this new V2 series industry. So you need to go back and check your industry, because about 40% of those industries have changed. And it could be just as simple as AND, instead it's now the symbol and, right? But if you had the old one, they can't find you in that industry, right? That works its way right into our experience area. Titles, those are huge, right? We learned this many years ago. I did a transition for a head of an company, and he was head of HR for this internet company. And he couldn't figure out why nobody was finding him on LinkedIn. No recruiters were calling him. And his title was Cloud9 Navigator. What's a Cloud9 Navigator? Who's going to type that in when they're trying to find him? We changed it to Chief Human Resource Officer. And in 2 weeks, he was scalped right off LinkedIn, right? To an opportunity that he has loved ever since. So you got to use those market value titles. Now, that might seem weird because you go, oh, but at my company, they don't call me this, right? Well, first of all, you want to be found to be called, right? And then, if you have to, you could put in the description of the job area, you could put internally known as the Cloud9 Navigator, right? Now everything's very straightforward, very honest, but you're in the filters and you can be pulled as a file for someone to find you. So huge, huge difference. Now, one of the other areas that I see almost 80% of the profiles that I look at, this is a big fail, if they've studied to get a upper education, right? Or even certificates, right? If they are not using the drop-down box appropriately, if they put BA instead of Bachelor of Arts and select the drop-down that has Bachelor of Arts -BA, if they don't select that, they're not seen internally within the database as actually having that degree. Spent all that time, probably still owe money on it, right? But they're not getting credit for it. And at certain levels of positions, it's a requirement for many of the jobs. So what's happening is if they apply with their profile, they might not be getting credit. Or if a recruiter's looking for them, everything matches up, but you don't have the degree in the database, you disappear. You're invisible. And so to me, that's the first thing everybody's got to go check. Check all those little lines on your profile that when you start typing in, it gets you a drop down, and select the best drop downs. So I think that's a great starting point, right?
That's really gold. And I really agree with you, because it's so important from my perspective as a headhunter. When I look for candidates, I often type in the industry, because for some companies, the industry knowledge is a must. You can't have a person coming from a different industry, or it can be 2 different industries maximum. Otherwise, you're out. Yeah. And also the title, what you said, if I'm looking for a director level or manager level, then you really need to have it in your the drop down box, because that's how you are searched for. And
well, how else do you make sense of 1 billion people, right?
It's like Google, and that's and the location as well.
Yeah.
It is so important. And when we joined LinkedIn, it didn't exist, and now it exists. Yeah. And I will go in today and have a look, so that I have that.
I love, LinkedIn is bringing a lot of AI in, right?
Yes.
Artificial intelligence. And I always think artificial intelligence is just that. It's not authentic intelligence. It's not human. It does make mistakes, right? But one of the things I think is cool is they're combining this artificial intelligence into looking at our profiles. So if you've got a market value title, right? That everybody recognizes. Maybe it's sales manager, right? Or VP of marketing. If that's the market value title that popped in there, LinkedIn knows who else within LinkedIn has that title. They know what skills those individuals have. And through AI, they will assign skills to you that might not have even shown up in your content.
Exactly.
So if you don't use it, you don't get this little AI boost, right? And right now, AI is hot. And, you know, within your own recruiting, LinkedIn will present people to you. And sometimes you might even look at that and go, why that person? Usually that's because their AI thought there was something in there that maybe wasn't seeable, right? But they said this person has the skills you're looking for, even though the skills aren't maybe listed.
Yes.
So it's using AI to present to you best choices. It also looks at some other things like, do you respond to recruiters, right? If they send you a message, do you blow them off or do you actually respond to them? If you respond to them, hey, that's great. If you've been looking for a long time, right, they actually bring your ranking down a little bit. So I always look at that. There's a tool out there, the Open to Work, right? Yeah. You can either show the banner to everybody. I'm not a real big fan of that because that becomes part of your brand. And I think that's more bland than brand, right? Or you can do the recruiter, notify the recruiters. But one thing I have found in the database is the longer you have that on, the less your ranking becomes in the results. LinkedIn starts thinking, if you've been looking for 6 months, right, either you're not really seriously looking, or maybe you're not a fit for that target position. And so I always tell people, if you're going to use that system, put a little tickler in your calendar and refresh it every month, maybe every 2 weeks. If you're in a job search, do it every week, refresh it so that you're the top of that list when somebody searches for it, right? So think about LinkedIn as a big database and how databases work. That's always going to keep you very fresh. They like fresh data, right? And so think about those things in that way. Now,
it's so true, and it's excellent advice because like you said about the LinkedIn recruiter version that I'm using, I see the Open to Work that's only for recruiters, and I get pop-up messages every day. Now, this person who was in your search, it could be from 5 years ago, they turned the Open to Work on.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I see every morning in my LinkedIn recruiter inbox. And I'm like, oh,
they may have had it on yesterday.
Yes.
But you didn't notice them, right? Because they were 5 years old as a relationship. They click that one more time, they redo it, set it one more time, and all of a sudden they're in your inbox. That's cool.
In every recruiter's inbox who has had them on their radar, maybe even 5 years ago. So this is really excellent.
But you always think you just have to, all you have to do is turn it on and walk away. LinkedIn doesn't work that way. You can't build it and they will come. You have to constantly nurture it, culture it, continue to use it, and then they'll come. LinkedIn looks at our activity on LinkedIn, right, as part of proof that our information is correct. So the more we are active, the more we do things on LinkedIn, even changing things on our profile means activity. But the more we do that, the more LinkedIn says that information on Tiina's profile must be correct because she's always doing something on LinkedIn. So activity actually increases your ranking score. And, you know, some people look at that SSI, right? That's basically all that is measuring activities. And so know that being active is going to help you be found as well. And turning some of these things on and back off and back on, right? They're going to, again, put you in front of people who should be looking at you. So I'm glad you confirmed that too.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic.
I'm so happy we're having this conversation. And what you also said about the AI. So I have my list of candidates with the skills. And then when I'm asleep, the AI looks for other profiles that are similar and presents them. And then, of course, I go with my human eyes and I see, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Or this profile is, I didn't find them myself. Or
or maybe I never would have found them, right? But then you look at it and go,
Exactly.
wow, that's cool.
That's really the thing about LinkedIn. So the gold is the drop down boxes. Like you don't have to
Absolutely.
invent your own job title.
You don't want to. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
choose the one that is equivalent to what you're doing, and then put the official title that you have inside your own company.
If you even have to, right? I think companies come up with crazy names to obfuscate people so they can't be found, right? If I give them a silly title, nobody will steal them from the company, and we can call them that all we want, and we're protecting ourselves, right? Companies are very much like that. They think that way. Talking about the skills are the same thing. When you type a skill in, it's got a drop-down box, right? If you do P and L, P sign L, right? Take the one that's in the drop-down box, not the one you think is right, right? Not your customized one. Take that one, because that's going to be in the filter. When you type in P and you get ready to do L and it says, here's the filter, that's the one you're going to use. So that's the one we should use, right? And that makes them all match up. Now, skills are funny because people kind of blew off skills for a while, right? They thought, oh, they're silly. Everybody gives everybody skills. Well, LinkedIn kind of figured that out. And they've done a couple things in the internal ranking of skills. Now, one of them is, obviously, if somebody endorses you, right? If you've got marketing and 10 people say you have it, that's the score, right? 10 people you say you have it, that's good. If another person says you have it that's also highly ranked in it, right? That's a multiplier in your score, right? And then ultimately, if you then assign that skills assigned to positions, you then come up with years of experience in that skill. So if I need somebody with 10 years of experience in social media, and all it says down below is their social media, I don't know how many years, right? If it's assigned to several positions, LinkedIn then can say, here's your 10 years of social media experience, people. So make sure you're using that skills assigned. I know that was late last year, but people forget, and they forget to bring in those top skills into that, and definitely do that. The other thing is bring up your skill endorsements. I always say have a skill party, right? An endorsement party. Find 50, 100 of your best friends and say, you know what? If you would do me a favor, come to my profile, give me the skills I have. I'm doing the same for you right now. And that will build that up very quickly.
Yes, and I also seen that if somebody in your from your team has recommended you, or the same
Absolutely.
organization, that ranks so much higher. So you can only grow by lifting others. This is really a good example where collaboration, and sometimes we are shy to reach out and ask people, but
if we're really quiet and we just go to people we know and we give them every skill we know they have, don't give them the ones you don't know they have, right? If I don't know Cobalt, I'm not going to give anybody Cobalt, right? So ancient coding language, and I do know it. That's the sad part. Don't give things you don't know. Either you don't understand the skill or you don't know if they have it, don't give it. Just give them the ones you know they have.
Exactly.
And when you do that, from what I've seen on my own, about 75% of the people who you do that for, they'll say thank you, and then they'll give you the ones they think you have. Often it's the same one. So if I wanted to build leadership up, right? If I went out and gave the people I know who have leadership, and 75% came back, majority of them are going to give me leadership. So it's also a way to kind of bring up the skills that you need to bring up, right? In those skills area too, your top 3, you can move those around using that little kind of 3-line sandwich when you're in the edit, right? You can move your skills. Whatever the top 3 are the ones you're always going to get the most endorsements for. So rotate them, right? You get a new one, put all your new ones at the top that have no endorsements. You'll get endorsements for them, right? Instead of always getting those top 3 done, rotate them through so everything gets a chance to get a certain amount to kind of get you moving forward.
Yeah, it's really important about the skills. It's I can't emphasize that enough. Before we go to open questions, I have one question from my previous guest, the wonderful LinkedIn guru Jeff Young. So he has a direct question to you. It's about the future. So what is the focus of all the changes in the next 3 to 6 months within the new features? What are your thoughts?
I think there's a couple things happening. One is more native video within LinkedIn. Now, what that means, if you're doing LinkedIn Lives, instead of having to have Restream and pay it, you'll be able to come straight to LinkedIn and stream right through LinkedIn, right? That also will work into things like video events, which are like audio events, but instead of a little still picture, it'll be a little video. So we're going to see more of that. So video is getting a bigger presence. If you're not doing things like your profile video, you should go and shoot that. That's a great little example that says, hey, I'm not afraid of this stuff, right? If you don't feel comfortable actually doing one and you've done some of these lives and other events and stuff, take a segment out and make it out of an existing segment. Jillian did mine for me from a presentation when I was on her live. She just cut it, sent it to me, said, hey, here's a gift. It was beautiful. I still use it. Sometimes you already have the content there to make that video, but get that out there because that just shows that you are more adapt to LinkedIn, more open to these kind of new things. So videos is big. I think we're going to see a lot more coming. You may have video answers to questions, you know, things like that. So I think that is definitely an area that's going to develop. The other one is, and we all know this, is AI, right?
Yes.
Because Microsoft owns LinkedIn and now owns what, 49% of ChatGPT, right? The big AI beast out of OpenAI. And they're combining stuff in here. So LinkedIn has always done AI within LinkedIn, but now it's bringing in this ChatGPT component. So we're going to see more of that. We're seeing collaborative posts, right? Collaborative articles where the AI creates the beginning of the article and then authors come in and they add content to it. Now, whenever I see something like that, and some of the newer features, I've found it interesting that LinkedIn still says for this to be good, it needs people input, right? Because ChatGPT, any kind of AI is going to create something that is really stodgy. It's kind of broken in a sense. It's very robotic, right? It needs people to influence it, to put passion into it, to really make sense of it. And so I think when they do something like collaborative articles, it's LinkedIn and Microsoft and ChatGPT admitting we can't do this without people. So people who are afraid that this AI is going to take over and take away their jobs, that's not really what's going to happen because we're already realizing AI needs more people input than AI provides. And so these are little instances of that when you see us. Now, LinkedIn is launching a premium feature that's going to enhance profiles. So it's starting now with your headline, right? So it's going to help you write a headline, and it's going to help people write an about section. Which is their version is about 5 or 6 lines. It's really it's more of a highlight of everything you've got on your profile, right? It's not really creative. If you're talking social media, this is more like the label on the side of a robot, right? It's very dry. It has some good things in it. And it does pick up some things that you present in some of the content, right? But it's really dry. It needs that human touch. It needs to be corrected. And that's why even in that process, LinkedIn doesn't just automatically throw it onto your profile. It makes you review it, potentially edit it before you then select it, right? So again, LinkedIn is saying, hey, we're doing AI, but we know AI is not perfect. And that's why when they use AI for recruiters, they give you the option to say, that's not good, right? That's not what I want. I need a little more of this. It's trying to take our feedback. It's trying to get better, but we're going to see a lot more AI coming in this process. And I do like that LinkedIn has admitted it also needs authentic intelligence to make it all work.
Exactly. So it improves our experience, but it doesn't replace it.
No. And I think it's good for someone just starting out. Instead of leaving it blank, right? Instead of leaving it title at company as your headline, it's going to give you something, right? Something is better than nothing, right? But that's about what it is. It is kind of a bland statement. You got to take it beyond that and really make it yours. But it could give you a starting point. I always say AI makes a wonderful muse. It makes a terrible artist. Right. So, but it can get you there, right? It can make your creative juices flow. So we're going to see a lot more of that within LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn will do things like help you with your content, right? Okay, you like this, and this. They'll ask some questions, and they might then start producing content suggestions for you. So if you want to produce, here's 5 things this week you should do, right? Here's how your post should be based on your analytics of what was successful at what time, what days. Here's what we suggest, right? So I think there's going to be a little more AI in helping people develop their content. And to me, it's training wheels, right?
Yeah,
on your
exactly.
bike. At some point, you got to get rid of the training wheels. You can't rely on them. They don't look cool, right? You got to get a little bigger. And so you got to get rid of them. But it's a good start point. And I think LinkedIn's going to start using AI more to help people get started, right? Get less afraid. I did a post this morning about LinkedIn's interview process, which is on the job tab, interview preparation. You can actually go in there, you can see the questions, you can see some of the answers, but you can practice on a video interview as if you were talking to somebody, right? You're answering the question. And then when you submit it, it will give you AI feedback. It'll say you said 5 times, or you said right, 700 times, or you had a pitch that was real monotone, right? Or you lost them in the conversation about halfway through. You lost your passion. So it's going to give you a lot of good feedback. And the cool thing about that is nobody has to see it. It's just between you and the bots, right? And then you can go practice it again, and you can practice it again, and you can even share it. I could send one I did. I could share it to Tiina, and Tiina could say, you really look like an idiot. Do it again.
More. Yeah.
Try harder. Stop moving your hands around so much. But it gives you an idea, right? And so I think that's really kind of cool. So LinkedIn, I think we're going to see a lot more of this AI involved.
Yeah. And here we have Jeff Young sending greetings. You two are going to rock. Namaste. So thank you, Jeff, for the question. We also have Sandra Clark joining us, and Nigel Cliff saying hello. Great to be here. We have Felipe Confino joining us from the US. We have Kenneth Lang, hello. And LinkedIn Seb from Switzerland.
These are all rock stars, by the way. If you don't know them and you're watching this, if you're in replay or you're watching it now, all these people popping on the screen, you should be following them. And not only following them, ring their bell and engage in their content if you really want to learn. So these are perfect examples of people on LinkedIn you should know. And
Bryn Tillman as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our friend Craig Allen from Scotland.
Well, I guess we have to let Craig in.
Sending you hugs. And Biljana, it's a great idea to build your network.
Absolutely.
That's why we have
networking.
LinkedIn.
Always beats not working. That's why you should never stop it, right? And to me, not working doesn't mean a job per se. It means business coming to you, right? So networking always beats not working. It's key. That's the beauty of LinkedIn. It is built to network.
And we have Shelley joining us.
Hey.
Oh, and we have Tom corner. Yes, that's the power of LinkedIn. Oh, and Gillian with me,
Julian.
who was so kind to make your LinkedIn profile video.
Absolutely.
Best video coach on LinkedIn. And we have Risto joining us from Finland. Hey, hey. And let me see if we have any questions. And we have Stan joining us. Oh, and they are having conversations.
All right.
And Gina is saying non-descriptive headlines are not helpful.
Absolutely not.
Not for anyone, no. And Sarah Clay from the UK.
Hey, hey.
Hey, Sarah, nice to see you here. And Marilise Garcia, Estonian living in France. How often would you recommend changing those drop-down menu parts of the profile? And
only if you have change or you notice change in the industry, right? When cloud used to be SaaS, right? When that evolved, that would be a time to change that potentially. So when you see change or you change, that's the time you want to go back in there. I always tell people at least every year or half a year, you should kind of audit your own LinkedIn profile, right? Go back and check everything to avoid these little surprises, right? And then sometimes you look at that and you go, wow, did I really think that a year ago? That's so wrong, right? Now I can fix it. But if you don't do the audit of your profile, you'll never see it and it will go on for years and that becomes your brand. So audit your profile, look at these things. I say at least every 6 months, definitely every year.
I think after this conversation, I will go and make some changes, because it's easy to say to other people, but we have to walk the talk as well.
Absolutely. I do it.
Especially the education drop down.
That one's a killer and people don't realize it. Same thing on that education drop down. Most people don't know this, but the end date is really important, because if you don't have the education end date, you're not really in a lot of the search results, right? Then I say not in the search results. I should say ranked highly in the search results, right? This is kind of like Google. If you Google something, right, you type in a search, how many times do you get past the second page of the results? Never, right? So if you don't have your end date, you might show up in a recruiter search, but you're going to be at the bottom because it's not complete data, right? They want to give you complete data because you're paying as a recruiter. So I'm going to give you everything that has dates on it because you can verify those, right? So complete data always first. So if you're thinking they won't know how old I am because I take my date off, they won't know how old you are at all if you take your date off because they won't find you in that search result.
And so often I do a search for somebody with at least 8 years experience.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have no or graduated after that date, if you don't have the date, you will not be part of the list of the candidates whom I find. So it's not a good idea.
It works like a database works. So the Marines always say to win the war, you have to understand your battlefield, right? LinkedIn's our battlefield. We got to understand how it works so that we can win the war and get what we need to get out of LinkedIn, right? Whatever that is, whatever our purpose is there. If we don't understand what's going on, we can't get there.
Exactly. So, and Stella is a wonderful trainer as well, and helping so many people with their employability skills. Thank you so much for joining, and we also have our friend John Espirian joining us, and Sharon. So I really, I'm going to go back and answer to all the messages afterwards. And I want to thank you for coming to have this conversation. I have taken notes, and I will take action. And I hope that people who are watching now and replay, that they also will think about those market value titles and the drop down boxes. Is there something that you would like to emphasize as a takeaway?
I think the biggest thing is, if you want to be found on LinkedIn, be active on LinkedIn, right? Follow people, ring their bell, participate in the conversation, create conversations, right? Do audio rooms, do lives, get involved, because the more active you are, the better LinkedIn looks at your profile and says, this is good content, I'm going to promote it. So activity equals a value to LinkedIn, equals you getting the rewards from that value. And so stay active, get active. You don't have to do it, 3 hours a day. You're working, you could do 15 minutes a day, be really effective. I do have some videos on my YouTube channel that can help you. One of them is favorite content creator filter. And that is how to set that filter up. So you can set one up for authors, right? And you can have 60, 70 authors in there. You click it, it only gives you what they did today, no ads. You can do the same thing for companies you're targeting. What did they release, right? LinkedIn executives, you could have a list for that. You can have as many lists as you like. That's a great thing to do, because that's going to help you focus your time on LinkedIn. So you're very efficient, but you're keeping the activity level going. And so lots of little tools like that. I've got a channel. It's Keep Rocking LinkedIn. Pretty easy. Or you can look it up at Kevin D. Turner on LinkedIn, or pardon me, on YouTube. Either one will get you there. And love to have you over there, and enjoy the videos. There's stuff in there that nobody else will tell you about LinkedIn. And that's what I like to do.
Yes. So if you want to stay up to date about the new features, follow Kevin on LinkedIn, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let's continue the conversations. I will now put the outro music on, and it's our friend LinkedIn Zeb who made it. So thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
And see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.